Welcome back, retro fans. It's Paul Driscoll here, aka the Drisk from the RGDS podcast, and I'm back with a personal best of list. This time we're diving into the top 50 SEGA Master System games. Now, let's be clear, like the others in the series, this isn't what others consider the best of. These are my personal favourites. These are the games that I love to play the most, so naturally my preferences come into play here. For example, you'll notice fewer turn-based RPGs like those inspired by Final Fantasy or sports games. Now that's just my taste, but hey, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? Now the goal of this video is simple. Just shine a spotlight on 50 incredible Master System games that you might not have played or even heard of. And I'm really thrilled to continue this series with the SEGA Master System, a console that I believe is underrated and often overlooked. It really does have some of the best 8-bit gems ever made. They're all right here, waiting to be rediscovered. Now, of course, I think it's also exciting because the Master System didn't make much of a splash in the US. They were so NES-centric. So, particularly to our US listeners, they might not know a lot of these games, but also know a large chunk of the world, like South America, Europe, Australia. This was the final system above NES. Anyway, I've put together what I think is a lineup of the most iconic and lesser-known titles that I think deserve some love. So sit back, relax and join me on this nostalgic journey. And if you enjoy this video, please do me a favour, like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to stay up to date with all the content coming your way. And also, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of my picks? Are there other Master System games you want to add to the list? Or maybe you're inspired to try a few of the titles, in which case please let me know in the comments what you thought of the games. Anyway, let's not waste any more time, let's dive in. Okay, at number 50 we have Teddy Boy Blues. This is a fast-paced arcade-style platformer released in 1985, and it's based on the hit Japanese song by Yuko Ishikawa. Now, it's a sort of looping platform level with enemies all over the place, and it's all about sort of like testing your time management and precision. Yes, it's simplistic, and that's probably why it's so down on the list, but there's something about this quirky fun classic that I just think is wonderful and well worth a play. Okay, let's go on to number 49, and I have chosen Impossible Mission. This 1988 gem blends platforming with puzzles. Of course, it's better known on the C64, but I really think this is one of the best versions of this game. So if you're a fan of the C64 version, give the Master System version a go. You won't be disappointed. Of course, it's all about infiltrating an evil scientist's lair to stop his nefarious plans, and all under a ticking time limit. Now, you've got to admit that digitised speech alone made waves back in the day, and, you know, it still is the case here. That classic line, another visitor, stay a while, stay forever. Nostalgia overload, anyone? Right, let's go on to number 48, and I've chosen Paperboy. This came out in 1990 for the Master System adaptation of the arcade hit, and it brings the iconic isometric style of the game and quirky humour to absolute perfection. I think it's one of the best ports of Paperboy, even preferring it over the arcade original in many ways. Now, of course, for those who don't know, you take the life of a paperboy in dodging dogs, runaway tyres and angry neighbours while delivering newspapers. It's just a perfect blend of chaos and charm, and I think this is one of the best ports out there. Okay, let's go on to number 47, and I've chosen Ghost House. Now, this is quite a rare Sega card game from 1986, and you take control of Mick as he fights vampires in a haunted mansion. It's a simple yet eerie platformer, and I just love it. It keeps you on edge, and I just love the themes of sort of scary horror. Yes, I mean, it's all about just sort of going to each coffin and making your way through the levels. So watch out for those bloodsuckers and give this one a go today. Right, pirates, treasure and vibrant 1988 platforming action, it's Captain Silver at number 46. Play as Jim and explore nautical theme levels, battling enemies and collecting treasure. I really enjoy this game. I mean, you could argue that the replayability is a tad limited, but it's got wonderful colour palette. It's really quite fun gameplay, even though it's quite simple, and I just always keep coming back to it, so it's one that I definitely urge you to give a try. Right, quacking into the 45th spot is Deep Duck Trouble, starring Donald Duck. This came out in 1993. It's a short adventure, platforming adventure, but you know, it's really fun. It's got gorgeous graphics. You're on an adventure to lift Scrooge McDuck's curse from the icy peaks to lush forests, and the visuals are just simply a masterclass in Master System charm. Just, you know, don't be put off by the shortness of the game, because to be honest, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, with all our busy lives, a short game's not necessarily a bad thing. Right, gearheads, you're in for a treat at number 44 with Enduro Racer. This 1986 title captures the thrill of dirt biking through rugged terrain. Now, this is interesting because unlike the original arcade game of Enduro Racer and most of the other ports that came out in the 8-bits, this is a totally different game. It's from the isometric viewpoint and does things very different, but I really like it. It's got smooth scrolling, nice visuals, and it's actually a lot of fun to play. Right, okay, Pew Pew at number 43 is Safari Hunt, a 1986 light gun shooter that made the Sega Light Phaser shine. Think of it as Master System's answer to Duck Hunt, but with more variety, because here you're hunting everything from ducks to bears to lions and tigers. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it needs to be played by more. But of course you need the light gun to really make the most of it, and a CRT. Okay, Rastan hacks and slashes his way into number 42 with this 1988 action platformer, and it puts you in the boots of a barbarian hero battling mythical beasts through haunting landscapes while making your way to save the princess or whatever you're trying to do. Now, some might say, you know, the controls may feel stiff, but it's got that epic soundtrack, and I really enjoy playing it. I think it's a great port. It's definitely one of the best home ports for the arcade game classic. Right, okay, let's go on to number 41, and it is Gauntlet, a 1990 dungeon crawler that's all about co-op action. I think everybody knows the arcade original. You get to play a warrior, a Valkyrie, a wizard or an elf, and you fight your way through a monster-filled dungeons. Now, of course, you know, the graphics are always going to be behind the arcade version, but it's got it where it counts. It's fast and fluid and colourful, and no, I really like it. In fact, I prefer the slower pace of this home port over the arcade original. But that could be nostalgia speaking. Okay, blasting its way onto number 40. We've already hit number 40, and it is Astro Warrior, a classic vertical scrolling shooter from 1986. Yes, it's simple and straightforward shooter, but sometimes that's what you want. You just want pure retro fun. You could argue as well it's short in length, but all of that doesn't matter. It's just got where it counts. Smooth controls, rewarding ship upgrades, and it just makes it stand out as one of the best space shooters on the Master System. Now, a lot of people got this with the Hang-On in combo cartridges, and that's where I discovered it. Yeah, Astro Warrior is a must play for fans of intergalactic chaos. At number 39, we've got Choplifter, a side-scrolling shooter that puts you in the cockpit of a helicopter on a mission to rescue hostages. Now, it was released in 1986, and it's all about balancing precise navigation with tense combat as you fend off the enemies. Now, based on the arcade classic, of course, this version I think brings solid mechanics of the arcade and is a great version of it. It's one of my favourite versions of Choplifter, and you know, it's that's why it's a fan favourite of many, not just mine. Now, sliding into the 38th spot is Penguin Land, a 1987 puzzle platformer that stands out for its innovative level design and challenging gameplay. As Overbiter, Penguin Commander, your mission is to guide the fragile eggs through the icy trap-filled caverns. It also has a level editor with a groundbreaking battery backup save, so it's way ahead of its time. But more importantly, it's a really quite a fun puzzle platformer that most people have never heard of, so that's why we wanted to shout out it here. Okay, for fans of board games, it is Trivial Pursuit at number 37. Now, I think it'll probably surprise a lot that it's so high up my list, but I love this version of the game. It came out in 1986, and it brings the classic quiz game to the Master System. I just love the fact that you've got this sarcastic duck, and yes, the questions are limited, but I just think it's a really solid one. It's one that I always love going back to, even though that blimmin' duck saying, well, you should have known it, in condescending tones. I just love it. So perfect for testing your trivia chops with friends on. Okay, coming in at number 36 is Newzealand Story. Now, this is an adorable, inventive platformer from 1992, and of course, Tato. You play Tiki, the courageous Kiwi bird, on a quest to rescue his friends from the clutches of leopard seal. It's packed with charming visuals, clever level designs, and quirky weapons. The game is a delightful mix of challenges and cuteness, but more importantly, on the Master System, it's a really, really good version. For the 8-bits, I think it's probably the best version, and that's why I have such good fond memories of it and why it's included here. Okay, at number 35, we have the whimsical Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. Now, a lot of people probably surprised that this has appeared so high on my list, but of course, I love Dizzy, and this is a really good version. It came out in 1993, and for those who perhaps don't know, it's a sort of adventure platform. You pick up objects and you work out where to use them by talking to other characters. It stars Dizzy, of course, the egg, and you just work your way through. It's full of charm. It's got quite well-designed puzzles, and I think this is a really great version of Dizzy that maybe a lot of people haven't played this particular port of, so definitely one to give a go to. Okay, Fox, Hippo, Monkey, Tiger. Why choose when you can be them all? Yes, it is Psycho Fox, which takes the 34th spot with its innovative character switching mechanic and momentum-based platforming. Now, it came out in 1989, and this is a colourful, quirky game that's a real treat for fans of the platform genre. Plus, who can resist the assistant named Birdfly? I mean, it's great. Yes, you could argue that the sort of momentum mechanics makes it quite difficult to do precise jumping, but you get used to it, and it's worth getting used to it because you'll do fantastically well. Okay, Mickey Mouse returns to the countdown at number 33 with Land of Illusion. Now, this is the sequel to the beloved Castle of Illusion game, which is equally great, but I've chosen the sequel because I think it takes it further. This 1992 platformer offers enchanting levels, tight controls, and light puzzle solving. Mickey's ability to shrink in size adds a fresh twist to the gameplay as well, and that makes it a real 8-bit Disney treasure for you to enjoy and play. Okay, taking the 32nd spot is R-Type, a 1988 horizontal scrolling shooter based on that Irem arcade classic. It really does deliver a faithful arcade port of the game on the Master System. As with the arcade parent, you pilot the R9 ship and your mission is to obliterate the Bido Empire. It offers challenging gameplay, impressive graphics and tight controls. It's a great home version, and I actually prefer it over the arcade if I'm honest, because it's that little bit slower pace. My limited gaming skills can cope a little bit better. Okay, let's go on to number 31, and I've chosen Golden Axe Warrior, a 1991 action-adventure game that's hailed as Master System's answer to Legend of Zelda. Now, I totally agree with this. I actually prefer it over Gavilius, and I think this is a really solid action RPG. Now, what makes it even better, it's set in the Golden Axe universe, so you get to explore the expansive overworld, collect crystals and conquer labyrinths to defeat the Death Adder. The game is wonderful with its depth and gameplay, and it really is a Master System classic. Okay, let's go on to number 30, and I've chosen Battle Outrun. It came out in 1989, and it's an interesting twist to the racing genre. You know, basically doing high-speed chases with vehicle combat. Think Outrun and Chase HQ having a baby. It really is exciting. It lets you pursue criminals across exhilarating locations, and yes, you could argue it's a little bit repetitive gameplay-wise, but I just love it. I love the music, and there's no denying the adrenaline rush it delivers. Okay, swinging on to the spot in 29, it is Danan, the Jungle Fighter. This 1990 action platformer immerses the player in a vibrant jungle setting where you battle foes and enlist animal companions to aid in the combat. Now, it's got really impressive large sprites and, you know, engaging environmental interaction that you just enjoy. I love this game, and Danan is an adventurous gem worth revisiting or rediscovering, because a lot of people don't even know this exists. Okay, let's go on to number 28, and we've got the masterpiece that is Prince of Persia, released in 1992 for the Master System. Now, of course, it's famous for its stunning rotoscoped animation, challenging puzzles, and a ticking clock to save the princess. Now, this stands as one of the best home ports of the original. It does such a good version. It's silky smooth, and it's the one that I always go to play, if I'm honest. So it's a must play for action adventure fans who crave precision and storytelling. Okay, who you gonna call? Yes, it's Ghostbusters, and it hits the 27th spot with this 1987 action-packed ghost-catching antic classic. Now, I love the 8-bit Ghostbusters, where you manage resources, capture spectres, and, you know, hum along to that iconic theme tune. And, you know, whilst perhaps the C64 version is best remembered, or some of the others, I really think this is actually the best version of that 8-bit Ghostbusters game. It's one I always go to. I think it's such a great version, and a lot of people aren't aware of this particular home port, so that's why I wanted to call it out. Definitely one to play for people who love the film and, you know, want or have nostalgic memories of that 8-bit original C64 or Spectrum classic. Okay, let's rev up your engines for number 26, and I've chosen Outrun Europa. Breaking away from the traditional Outrun gameplay, this 1992 sequel splices things up with motorcycles, jet skis and other vehicles as you race across Europe. It adds in police chases and a variety of locations, and you've got a thrilling twist on the series. I really quite rate this, particularly on the Master System. It's such a great version, by far better than any of the others in my opinion, including the Amiga. Ninjitsu fans rejoice, because at number 25 we have the Ninja. It offers top-down and a classic of 1986. Of course, originally it was known as Ninja Princess, but they thought the fact having a woman being the main protagonist would blow the tiny minds of people in America, so they decided to turn him into a boy. But doesn't really matter what the graphic swap out is. You basically here guide your ninja through enemy filled levels from above. You're hurling shurikens and uncovering hidden paths. It's really, really exciting and fun, and it's one that I definitely recommend giving a go to today. Okay, let's go on to 24, and we have Cloudmaster, which soars into the list at a whimsical 1989 side-scrolling shooter. I love this game. You're riding on clouds, you battle mythological creatures and snag power-ups in this enchanting title inspired by Chinese mythology. Now it really does have impressive smooth gameplay and it's a really good shoot 'em up. And I think probably quite a hidden gem to many, so give this one a go. Okay, let's go on to mixing in two iconic franchises with Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, which lands at number 23. This 1990 platformer brilliantly blends the charm of Alex Kidd with the action of Shinobi. It's got tight controls, clever level designs, and I love that ninja twist. It really is a standout of the Alex Kidd series and one that I always go back to, so I heartily recommend. Okay, so for number 22 we have Asterix. This 1991 gem takes the 22nd spot. It's got vibrant levels, unique ability for all Asterix and Obelix, and it's just got loads of charm. It really is one of the best Asterix adaptations of the comics, and really does the comics proud. So you're smashing Romans or exploring the wonderful levels. I really think Asterix is a great platform and one to remember. And of course there's other Asterix games on the Master System, such as Asterix and the Secret Mission in 1993 and Asterix and the Great Rescue the same year. All of them are really good, but I think Asterix, the first one, is the best of the bunch. Okay, let's go on to number 21, and I've chosen the Sega arcade classic Hang On. It's an iconic motorcycle racing game that came out in 1986, and not only was it a launch title for the Master System, but it was often built directly into the console, so a lot of people had this game. Now you could say, well, it's a simplified version of the arcade version, but it's got it where it counts. It's solid, it's fast-paced racing experience. It really does a wonderful job and really honours the Yu Suzuki and his team for the arcade original. Okay, let's go on to number 20 with Rainbow Islands. This colourful 1990 sequel to Bubble, and pretty much every system had a fantastic version, but the Master System I think is up there with some of the best, particularly on the 8-bits. Now, I think everybody knows the storyline. You play Bubble and Bob, who this time have turned to their human form, and they've traded bubbles for rainbows to attack their enemies and build pathways across the levels. I really like the game. You're building bridges, but also as an attack. It's quite innovative mechanics and vibrant presentation. It's a unique platformer that stands above its peers, and that's why I wanted to shout it out at number 20. Okay, popping its way onto the 19th place, it is the original game Bubble, which came out in 1991. This is a timeless classic with 100 levels of cooperative bubble blowing fun, and it's no surprise that it is still adored. Now of course the Master System version is naturally a little bit slower, but it's a great home port. Across the 8-bits I think it's one of the best, and it's got it where it's count with the charm, the graphics, the fun. I think it's a brilliant home port, and one that definitely needed to be shouted out. Okay, let's go on to number 18, and we have Sonic Chaos. This is the first Master System game that lets you play as Tails himself, and therefore this 1993 platformer introduces smooth gameplay, colourful graphics, and I love the new ability of Tails' flight and Sonic's rocket shoes. It's a speedy platforming delight. It's got so much going for it, and it's unique to the platform. You can't say you're a Sonic fan unless you've played some of the original games on both the Master System and, for that matter, on the Game Gear, but that's for another list. Okay, the force is strong with us at number 17 with Star Wars, released in 1993. Now, this, of course, is adapted from Episode 4, you know, the New Hope, and starts you off from Tatooine to the Death Star. Of course, it's probably better known with its NES counterpart, but I think it's better than that version. I think this is a really solid, and of course I'm such a Star Wars fan and nut that that's probably why it's so high on my list. But I just wanted to shout it out because a lot of people don't know the Master System version of Star Wars exists, and it's worthy of a playthrough. Although, just a little nod, I think the Game Gear version, which mixes up the levels, is even better. It's less smoother difficulty curve, which is nice to follow. Okay, at number 16, bringing RPG fans into the fold, it is Phantasy Star, which of course came out in 1987, and it's a real pioneering RPG that introduces groundbreaking 3D dungeon crawling along with all the standard fare of RPG overworlds. And this one is also notable for having a female protagonist as one of the main characters with Alice Landale, and I think it's a wonderful RPG, and that's why it made my list at number 16. Now, taking the 15th spot is Donald Duck the Lucky Dime Caper, a 1991 platformer packed to the feathers of Disney magic. It's, of course, you know, involves Donald as he embarks on a quest to retrieve Scrooge McDuck's lucky dime and save his nephews. It's got charming visuals, diverse, wonderfully designed levels, and engaging boss battles. It really is a winner for Duck and Disney fans alike. Okay, at number 14, it is Shinobi, released in 1988. And of course, this probably doesn't need any introduction for people. It's that Sega arcade classic where you're in the shoes of Joe Musashi, a ninja, and with his ninjutsu powers, you've got to rescue hostages and go through challenging levels. I think this home port is really, really good. I've got such fond memories of playing it as a kid. Of course, it's very much simplified from the arcade original, but it's doing its different thing. It's easier to play because it's not like insta-death, and I just think in many ways it's the better game. It's one that I think more people need to play. I also note, actually, although it's very tough, Shadow Dancer home port on the SEGA Master System is not half bad as well, although unfortunately that does have insta-death, which does get frustrating like the arcades. Okay, coming in at number 13, we finally hit the iconic Wonder Boy, released in 1986. This is a true platforming classic. It introduces memorable power-ups like skateboarding and the stone axe, but it's simple, addictive gameplay laid to the bare foundations that encapsulates and entices so many gamers still today. It's a wonderful home port, pretty much arcade perfect, and one that I can never stop playing. I just think it's absolutely awesome. Okay, taking the 12th spot is not just one but two epic shooters, because I couldn't choose between the two really. It is Power Strike 2, I would probably choose. It came out in 1993, but also the original Power Strike, which came out in 1988. Now, the first game in the series dazzles with its fast-paced action and expansive weapon system, but I think it's the second one that really ups the ante with its steampunk air pirates and incredible graphics. I mean, these are such a showcase of what the Master System was capable of in the right hands. They need to be played by compiled fans and shooting fans alike. These are some of the best ones out there that need to be played by more. Okay, we've reached number 11, and just missing the top 10 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, released in 1992. Now, this is unique to the Master System because it has completely different levels to the Mega Drive Big Brother versions. This has an underground zone and a sky high zone. Now, Tails isn't playable in this version in the multiplayer, but it still delivers that classic Sonic speed and platforming brilliance I adore it. And of course, I have to give an honourable mention to the original Sonic the Hedgehog, because the original home port of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System is also fantastic, bringing the blue blur's charm to the Master System, again with unique zones and bosses distinct from the Mega Drive Classic. And I think in many ways, they stand on their own sort of games. Much I love the Mega Drive ones, these need to be played, and a lot of people just assume they're just pale comparisons of their Big Brother, Mega Drive or Genesis games, and it's not the case. These stand alone on their own. Okay, it's number 10, and speeding on is Outrun 3D. I think this is a brilliant adaptation of the Sega arcade classic. It's one of my favourite Outrun home ports. It came out in 1989. Now, of course, you ideally would have the 3D glasses that you could buy, which were designed to work with the Master System, the Sega Scope 3D glasses, to experience it. But what a lot of people don't realise is on the menu you can simply choose the 2D version, and this Outrun 3D does a much better job than the original Outrun home port on the Master System, and quite frankly better than most of any of the ports, 8-bit or 16-bit. It's really, I think, one of the best versions outside of PC Engine or something like that, or some of the Japanese obscure systems. It's definitely a must play. Right, okay, we're on to number 9, and I've chosen Master of Darkness, Sega's answer to Castlevania, which is set in the 19th century England, and this 1992 platformer oozes gothic atmosphere as you face off against vampires and eerie creatures. I think it's got really solid mechanics, and of course it's not as good as some of the Castlevanias, but it's not far off, to be honest. I love the detailed settings, love the spooky vibe and the adventure. It's definitely one that needs to be played by more. Okay, we go on to number 8, and oh boy, it is Castle of Illusion. This is a 1990 classic that charmed players of all eras. It's got amazing smooth animation, creative levels and enchanting music. But what a lot of people don't realise is the Master System is its own stand-alone game. It's got different structures to many of the levels, and as you're Mickey going on a quest to save Minnie, this is, I think, one that gets missed off because people just think that it's a poor equivalent to, of course, the Big Brother Mega Drive Classic, but in fact actually it's its completely own game, and in many ways I prefer the level designs over the Mega Drive as much as I love that game as well. Okay, let's go on to number 7, and it is Alex Kidd in Miracle World, released in 1986. This platformer is a defining title for the Master System. It's got, of course, all the classic platforming action, the famous rock, paper, scissor boss battles, and just varied levels. I mean, it's one that every retro enthusiast should experience, and I think, Alex Kidd deserves a spot in the Retro Hall of Fame. He often gets forgotten about in this world, and it's a real shame. Okay, let's go on to number 6, and I've chosen Wonder Boy in Monster World. This is the final entry to the series on the Master System, and it blends in exploration and light RPG mechanics. It came out in 1993, and the player goes on an epic quest with Shion to save Monster World. It's got polished gameplay, expansive worlds, and really engaging RPG-like elements, which I think, makes this one of the finest. It's one that needs to be played by more. Okay, let's go on to the vibrant entry of number 5 with Fantasy Zone. This came out in 1986, and it's the shooter that defined the term shoot 'em up in the genre. I mean, you control Opa Opa, a really cute little spaceship, and it's all about flying around, shooting the enemy bases, and then picking up the goodies whilst shooting the enemies. It's such a great home port. Both Fantasy Zone and its sequel are awesome and, need to be played by more. I think it's a wonderful shoot 'em up, and I think the Master System is one of the best versions that you can play in the home still today. Okay, let's go on to number 4, and it is Ninja Gaiden. This came out in 1992 and of course is the action platformer that's probably better known, particularly on the NES, as being an absolute classic. But this version of the game is completely unique to the Master System. It's got its own exclusive levels, story elements, and whilst it's still incredibly difficult and it has that signature difficulty, it's got the smooth controls and great gameplay. It's a fantastic version. If you're a fan of the NES version but looking for more Ninja Gaiden action, this is a must play for such people, or simply fans of ninjas. This is one definitely needs to be played. Okay, at number 3 we have Zillion. This is a trailblazing action-adventure game from 1987. It mixes in things like Impossible Mission, but adds really fun gameplay, and based on an anime series which is not really known in the West, but incidentally that's where the phaser design that you got with the SEGA Master System light gun, that's where it came from, this game and anime series called Zillion. It's a real true hidden gem. It's one that I love going back to again and again. And I'll also give a special mention to Zillion 2, the sequel. Whilst it's a shadow of over the original, it does have these sort of like bike sections which personally I don't, well, they're too difficult to get and sort of break up the action, but having said that, it's still a great game, Zillion 2 or Zillion 1, but definitely a series forgotten about today and needs to be picked up by more. Okay, we're on the last 2, and taking up the runner-up spot is Wonder Boy in Monsterland. This came out in 1988, and it blends, again, the platforming action with RPG light. It introduces mechanics like gold collecting and equipment upgrades. It really is an action RPG ahead of its time, and it makes far more sense on the Master System over the arcade game, which always felt a little bit the wrong system to put, because of course it's like a action RPG. But I adore this game. It remains an absolute classic and one that I keep going back to again and again. Okay, we're finally up to number 1, the crown jewel of the Master System catalogue, according to me at least. It is Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, released in 1989, and this action-adventure platforming RPG-like masterpiece captivated players back in the day and still captivates people today. People loved its innovative transformation mechanics in the game, the non-linear exploration, and real incredible depth for a game of its time. That ability to transform into different creatures with unique abilities that let you see different parts of the game was well ahead of its time in many ways. And this is just as good a game as it was back in the day, and definitely deserving to be pinnacle of the Master System legacy. Okay, that's a wrap for the top 50 SEGA Master System games. What did you think of the list? Did your favourites make the cut? Or is there a title that you think deserves a higher spot, or ones that I didn't include? I'm sure Ease is going to be on that list. But as I mentioned, not the sort of genres that I tend to go for. But let me know in the comments. Keep it respectful. But, I really hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. And as always, be sure to subscribe, ring that bell for more retro gaming content. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep it retro.